Kia ora koutou, kei te pēhea koutou. How are you all? Now I realise it's been quite a while since I've put up a video, and I've got 3 good excuses, but I thought it's about time, so let's get into it. Now everyone has got their own favourite comfort food. What we're going to do today is show you one of my favourite comfort foods. It's the sort of thing that just hits the spot. So with my family that was staying, I had my mother, who's old, and because I'm old, so she must be older, and she can't eat anything that's too hard to eat. And we had my sister and her partner, who are both gluten-free, and we had my brother and his wife, who, well, they can pretty much eat anything, but they all agreed that this particular dish was really good. So okay, here we go. We're going to be looking at the dish, and that is a lentil cottage pie. Then I'm just going to do a little roundup of some of the restaurants that I went to when I was in Australia. Obviously there's thousands of restaurants in Australia, so this is just a random few. Some quite flash ones and some not so flash ones. And then finally we're going to have some reo Māori just to finish things off. Ngā mihi. Now the main ingredient, the protein, is brown lentils. I want this to be as cheap as possible. So how much is that going to cost? I'm going to cook up some dry lentils from scratch. Now this is a 400 gram tin. Pour in some brown lentils, weigh it, and it comes to 335 grams. Now I buy my lentils at an Indian grocer's for $6 a kilo, so that's about $2 worth of lentils. Now it might be a little bit more if you buy them in the supermarket, but not too much. If you buy tinned lentils, you're going to be paying minimum probably about $1.35, and it could be anything up to $2.50. Okay, let's cook these up and see how much we get. So we've got about 2 tins worth all up, so that means it's doubled in size. So it's costing us about $1 a tin. So it's definitely cheaper to boil them up from dry, but buying 2 tins of lentils isn't going to be too dear anyway. Okay, let's kick off. I've already peeled some potatoes, so I'm going to chop them up and cook them ready to be mashed. I've got an onion and some carrots and celeries. You can use other vegetables. The last time I made this I used a leek, but when I went to the store they were ridiculously small and expensive, so I'm just using an onion today. Doesn't really matter. And half of the onion roughly and the other one more finely, and then we'll chop up the carrot and celery. I'm using some cold pressed rapeseed oil, which is grown in South Canterbury, and we'll use that to saute the vegetables. Next we can add in some garlic. I've just gone and got some herbs out of the garden. Dried ones are fine, but I'm using sage, oregano and some thyme. Also kept the water that the lentils were boiled in. If you're using canned lentils, you can keep the water out of those, or maybe use some stock or some other liquid. Now we can throw in the lentils and give it a stir, and I'll chop up the herbs and then I'll throw them in too. Just to give it some taste. If you have it, an optional ingredient is some vegan beef stock powder. Well, it's still looking a bit dry. I'll add in some more of the lentil water. So that makes it about 1 litre of water that I've added. But what we want to do now is to let that reduce down, and that'll help cook the lentils as it goes. Well, it looks like the potatoes are now cooked, so we can drain them. We'll add a bit of garlic margarine, ordinary margarine would be fine, and start mashing them up. Now we'll just add a wee bit of oat milk, and that can sit for a while now. Let's see what it tastes like. Yum. It looks like it's the right consistency now. Now we'll put a bit of oil around the casserole dish so it won't stick, and I'll wipe it around. And we'll start loading the lentils and vegetables into the casserole dish. And now we can load the mashed potatoes on top. And once they're all in, smooth it down. Now I'm going to do a bit of an experiment now. On 1/2 of the mashed potatoes I'm going to put some vegan cheese. And on the other side we'll have some panko crumbs or breadcrumbs. Topped with a bit of oil. Well, kia ora, it's getting close to tea time, so time to put that casserole into the oven. We shall set it at 180 degrees on fan, and let's bung it in. Panko crumbs were definitely the winner. Vegan cheese just quite often doesn't melt very well, especially when it's on top of things. Whereas the panko crumbs with a little oil sprinkled on top is reliably good. To go with the cottage pie, I cooked some frozen green beans in a little water until it was evaporated off. Then did a quick fry with some crushed garlic, salt and pepper. So I couldn't really imagine a more comforting comfort food. It's easy, it's yummy, and it's cheap. Now, as I noted earlier, we hopped over the ditch to Australia for a couple of symposia. The first stop was in Melbourne. The weather was a wee bit gloomy, which I understand is not uncommon, but Melbourne is a really cultured place, one of my favourite cities. Our symposium dinner was at Super Normal in the CBD, Asian inspired, and they did it really well for the vegans, especially if you like mushrooms and eggplant dishes, which I do. In Melbourne there's a lot of little narrow laneways in the CBD area that are crammed full of cafes and restaurants. Now, I can't remember where I got this for breakfast, eggs Benny, but essentially some tofu sticks on a muffin. It was a bit expensive, it did taste really good, even if it wasn't really like eggs Benedict. One evening we were taken out to a plant-based Sicilian restaurant, Funghi el Tartufo. It was innovative, smart, without having, the usual Italian stuff, and it was completely vegan. We tried some calamari, which was amazingly good. I was a bit worried about the texture, but it was spot on. And then some meatballs with some rustic bread. Finally, I had some vegan swordfish, which, although I wouldn't say it was overly fishy in texture, it did taste really delicious. So yes, Melbourne's a lovely city, especially when the weather is fine and mild. Now we'd seen Crossways in our walks and decided to try it. If you're a bit short of money, this is the place for you, because it has a main and a pudding for $9.50. They just have one set menu for the day. So the day that we went there, it was chickpea curry with rice and poppadoms and a small pudding. Another one that we'd seen on Happy Cow was Veggie Tribe, and this is a buffet all you can eat, but for $30. My first go was some curries, veggies and rice. Then I went back for some samosas, pizza and lasagna, and finally a little bit more curry and some flatbread. We then went off to the other side of the country to Perth. It's very sunny and hot. At times, maybe just a little bit too hot. Sits on the Indian Ocean, definitely exudes Aussie beach culture. Our symposium dinner was at Salma, which is an Indian restaurant, very fresh and innovative. It was really great, and again, they did it really well for the vegans. The only restaurant I remember taking pictures in at Perth was Vegan World Perth, which serves Asian, mainly Chinese meals. Great food and not too dear. Now, it's kupu Māori time. We'll use some of the words we know with some new words. Ka tunu koe I ngā aha mō te kirihimeti. Ka tunu au I ngā kai karohuarehe. He rohi nati me te traiwhara. Ka tunu koe, you will cook, I ngā aha. What? Mō te kirihimeti. For Christmas. Ka tunu au, I'll cook, I ngā kai karohuarehe. Vegan foods. He rohi nati, so nut loaf, me te traiwhara, and a trifle. Well, I might squeeze in another show in before Christmas, but if not, I'll see you in the new year. Ka kite.